are reviving the shipbuilding in the country to strengthen industries, promote livelihood, and build a better, stronger future for the Philippines. With Hyundai Heavy Industries investing in Subic, our shipyard capacity will significantly increase from 1.3 million to 2.5 million deadweight tons.
Something unusual happened in the shipbuilding world in September 2025. A shipyard that had been silent for years suddenly came back to life. Metal clanged again. Sparks flew across massive steel hulls. Workers in bright helmets moved between cranes that hadn't lifted a single beam in years. And standing at the center of it all was HD Hyundai Heavy Industries, reopening the legendary Subic Shipyard. But here's the real question. Why would one of the world's biggest shipbuilders travel thousands of miles from Korea just to revive an old shipyard in the Philippines? This wasn't just a business decision. It was something much bigger. Some analysts are already calling it the next phase of South Korea's maritime strategy, a global network of shipyards and industrial hubs now quietly forming what people in the industry are starting to call the K-Shipbuilding belt. And if that sounds dramatic, well, it kind of is. Because shipbuilding isn't just about ships anymore. It's about power, supply chains, and influence at sea. A few years ago, the Subic Shipyard looked like a ghost town. The facility had once been run by Hyundai Heavy Industries and Construction, and at its peak, it was one of the largest shipyards in Southeast Asia. Thousands of workers built massive commercial vessels there. The cranes never stopped moving. Then in 2019, Hyundai collapsed under massive debt. Overnight, operations stopped. The dry dock sat empty. Steel rusted under the tropical rain. Entire communities around Subic felt the shock. For many locals, it felt like the end of an era. But history has a funny way of circling back. Fast forward to September 2025, when HD Hyundai officially reopened the yard through HD Hyundai Heavy Industries Philippines Inc. Executives, government officials, and naval representatives gathered as the gates reopened. And the message was clear. This wasn't just about restarting a shipyard. It was about building the future of shipbuilding in the Indo-Pacific.
Fortunately, the Philippines possesses all the ideal conditions to become a major player in the shipbuilding industry. With blessed maritime environment, young and highly skilled workforce, and the commitment support of the government. And more importantly, HD Hyundai, the world-leading shipbuilder, stands with the Philippines as a strong partner.
To understand why this matters, you have to look at the bigger picture. South Korea is already one of the world's shipbuilding giants. Through HD Korea Shipbuilding and Offshore Engineering, the country builds everything from LNG carriers and commercial mega vessels to advanced naval warships. But the industry is changing fast. Global shipping routes are shifting. Navies across Asia are expanding. And supply chains are becoming more regional and strategic. So instead of keeping everything inside Korea, companies like HD Hyundai are spreading their capabilities outward, connecting shipyards, technology, and talent across different countries. Think of it like a maritime production network stretching across the Indo-Pacific, a belt of shipbuilding power, a K-Shipbuilding belt. And Subic might be one of the most important pieces of that puzzle. The location sits near some of the busiest sea lanes in the world. The infrastructure is already massive, and the Philippines is rapidly modernizing its naval and maritime capabilities. Put all of that together, and suddenly this quiet reopening of a shipyard starts to look less like a local industrial revival and more like the beginning of a new geopolitical story unfolding at sea. And honestly, most people haven't noticed it yet. But they probably will soon. To understand why the reopening of Subic matters so much, you have to start with the company behind it, HD Hyundai. For decades, HD Hyundai has quietly built one of the most powerful shipbuilding empires on the planet. Through its shipbuilding arm, HD Korea Shipbuilding and Offshore Engineering, the company has been constructing vessels since the 1970s, gradually expanding from commercial ships into some of the most advanced maritime engineering projects in the world. LNG carriers, massive container ships, offshore platforms, naval frigates, you name it, they build it. In fact, not long ago, the company celebrated a milestone that almost sounds unreal: the delivery of its 5,000th ship since operations began in 1974. And here's the twist that caught global attention. That ship was a warship delivered to the Philippine Navy. Industry observers noted something remarkable about that moment. No European or Japanese shipbuilder has ever reached that scale of production. It was a quiet but powerful reminder of just how dominant South Korea has become in global shipbuilding. But the story gets more interesting when you look at the place where Hyundai decided to expand next. Subic Shipyard. A few years ago, this massive shipyard was practically abandoned. It had once been operated by Hanjin Heavy Industries and Construction, and at its peak, it was one of Southeast Asia's largest shipbuilding hubs. Ships rolled out of its dry docks at an impressive pace. Every year, the facility produced somewhere between 1.2 and 2 million gross tons of vessels, which in practical terms meant roughly 20 giant oil tankers or around 30 container ships annually. Then the collapse came. When Hanjin declared bankruptcy in 2019, operations stopped almost overnight. The cranes froze. The docks emptied. Thousands of workers suddenly found themselves without jobs. For a while, it looked like the shipyard would simply become another industrial relic along the coastline. Yet the location itself was always too valuable to ignore. Subic sits along one of the most important maritime corridors in the Indo-Pacific region, not far from the sea lanes through which a massive share of global trade flows every day. From a logistical perspective, it's a dream location for ship repair, shipbuilding, and naval support. That geographic reality is exactly what caught the attention of Hyundai. And this is where a bigger strategic idea begins to appear, something industry analysts have started calling the K-Shipbuilding belt. The phrase might sound catchy, but the concept behind it is actually pretty serious. Instead of keeping all shipbuilding capacity inside South Korea, Korean companies are gradually building an international network of shipyards, partnerships, and technology exchanges. These projects spread Korean engineering expertise and manufacturing capability across different countries while strengthening economic and security ties at the same time. In simple terms, it's like connecting multiple maritime industrial hubs into one extended ecosystem. The Subic Shipyard is one piece of that system. Other partnerships are emerging in places like India and Vietnam, where Korean firms are collaborating on shipbuilding, maintenance, and naval projects. Each location adds another link to the chain. And slowly, almost quietly, that chain is stretching across the Indo-Pacific. What we're seeing isn't just the reopening of a shipyard. It's the construction of a global maritime network, one dock, one partnership, and one ship at a time. When HD Hyundai stepped into Subic Shipyard, they weren't just reopening an old facility. The plan is much bigger than simply restarting ship production. What's being built there now is closer to a full maritime industrial ecosystem, the kind of complex where different parts of the ocean economy intersect. Over the next decade, the company is expected to invest roughly $550 million into transforming the site. And the vision is ambitious. Instead of focusing on a single type of shipbuilding, the Subic complex is being designed to handle several maritime industries at once. That includes ship fabrication, block manufacturing, vessel repairs, and even construction of offshore wind platforms. In other words, it won't just build ships, it will support the entire life cycle of maritime infrastructure. And honestly, when you look at the scale of the facility, it kind of makes sense. Subic was always built to handle big things, massive dry docks, giant cranes, and deep water access that can accommodate some of the largest vessels in the world. For years, those docks sat quiet. Now they're slowly coming back to life. The economic ripple effect is already starting to show. Right now, the shipyard employs roughly 1,200 workers, but that number is expected to grow steadily. Within the next few years, projections suggest up to 10,000 jobs could be created directly and indirectly as operations expand. By around 2030, the company expects the core workforce at the yard to reach about 4,300 employees. For communities around Subic, that's not just an industrial comeback. It's livelihoods returning after years of uncertainty. Then there's the question of what exactly will be built there. At the moment, the early focus is surprisingly diverse. The yard has begun working on offshore wind structures, which reflects the growing demand for renewable energy infrastructure across Asia. At the same time, it is also producing petrochemical carriers, vessels designed to transport specialized industrial liquids. But the moment that really signaled the shipyard's revival was the start of construction on a 115,000-ton bulk carrier. It might sound like just another ship to outsiders, but inside the industry it carries symbolic weight. It's the first large commercial vessel being built at Subic since 2019, when the previous operator shut down operations. Seeing a giant hull slowly take shape again inside those dry docks after years of silence is the kind of moment that makes people in the shipbuilding world pause for a second. And long-term, the possibilities go even further. Once the facility reaches full capacity, production could expand into oil tankers, container ships, and potentially even defense vessels for regional navies. Given Hyundai's experience in naval shipbuilding, that scenario is very much on the table. Behind the scenes, this revival is also being supported by a network of partners. Hyundai is working alongside Cerberus Global Investment LLC, a U.S. private equity firm that holds a stake in the project. At the same time, cooperation with Philippine government agencies is helping develop training programs and workforce development, ensuring that local workers can step into highly skilled shipbuilding roles. And interestingly, the shipyard isn't just limited to shipbuilding. Parts of the complex are already linked to naval support activities, while other areas are connected to companies involved in subsea cable infrastructure, the underwater networks that carry global internet traffic. So in one place you have ship construction, energy infrastructure, digital connectivity, and naval logistics all intersecting. It's a reminder that modern shipyards aren't just factories anymore. They're becoming strategic maritime hubs, where industry, technology, and geopolitics quietly meet at the edge of the sea. The economic impact of the Subic revival goes far beyond cranes and steel hulls. For many people living around Subic Bay Shipyard, this isn't just an industrial story, it's personal. Shipyards have always been places where entire communities earn their living. When the old operator collapsed in 2019, thousands of workers suddenly lost stable jobs. Families that had depended on the yard for years were left wondering what would come next. So when HD Hyundai stepped in and restarted operations, the news didn't just travel through boardrooms or trade publications. It spread through neighborhoods, small shops, and local markets. The revival means work is coming back. Over time, the shipyard is expected to generate thousands of direct jobs, from welders and engineers to logistics staff and technicians. But the employment story doesn't stop there. Training programs are also expanding as part of the project, with government and industry working together to build maritime technical training hubs that prepare workers for highly specialized shipbuilding roles. During the reopening, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. summed it up in simple terms that resonated with many Filipinos. The revival of Subic, he said, means more families with food on the table and more opportunities for dignified, skilled work.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we will begin reclaiming our rightful place among the world's great shipbuilding nations. I am excited to see where this endeavor will take us. Together, let us show the world that Filipinos have the skills, the vision to navigate the uncertain waters of an ever-changing world.
Sometimes policy discussions sound abstract, but this is the kind of outcome people can actually feel in their daily lives. And when a shipyard this large starts operating again, the economic ripple spreads fast. Shipbuilding is one of those industries where a single facility activates an entire ecosystem. Steel suppliers begin receiving orders again. Logistics companies move components in and finish vessels out. Maintenance crews, catering services, transportation providers, and small contractors all find new opportunities tied to the activity at the docks. Gradually, the surrounding region begins to transform into something bigger, a maritime industrial cluster. Ports get busier, export networks expand. Local businesses start aligning themselves with the shipyard supply chain. You can almost picture it like a circle growing outward from the docks. Another important piece of the puzzle is technology. Modern shipyards look very different from the ones people imagined from decades ago. Today's facilities rely heavily on digital production systems, precision engineering tools, and automated design platforms that allow ships to be built faster and with incredible accuracy. As Hyundai upgrades operations in Subic, many of these technologies are being introduced locally for the first time. That means Filipino engineers and technicians aren't just getting jobs, they're gaining access to cutting-edge maritime manufacturing skills. Partnerships with companies like Siemens are helping integrate advanced digital workflows into shipyard operations, from design modeling to production planning. Over time, this kind of technology transfer can elevate the entire maritime sector in the country, raising technical standards and opening new opportunities in engineering, offshore energy, and ship maintenance. So when people talk about the Subic revival, they often focus on the ships that will eventually leave their docks. But the real story might actually be the people staying on shore. New skills, new industries, and thousands of workers stepping back into a trade that has shaped coastal economies for generations. When the gates reopened at Subic Bay Shipyard, it wasn't just a business announcement. It felt more like a quiet signal that relations between South Korea and the Philippines are entering a deeper phase. Over the past few years, both governments have been steadily expanding cooperation, not only in shipbuilding, but also in defense, trade, and technology. Leaders such as Ferdinand Marcos Jr. have openly welcomed South Korean industrial investment, seeing it as a pathway to economic growth and stronger maritime capabilities. And from Seoul's perspective, partnerships like this matter a lot. South Korea has become one of the world's top naval ship exporters, and working closely with Southeast Asian partners helps strengthen both economic and security relationships. You can almost see the pattern forming: industry and diplomacy moving side by side. Now zoom out to the bigger map. The Indo-Pacific region has become the center of global maritime competition. Trade routes here carry a massive share of the world's commerce, and many countries are investing heavily in naval modernization. That's where Subic becomes strategically interesting. Located near major sea lanes, the shipyard can serve as a regional maritime hub, supporting ship construction, maintenance, and logistical operations. Facilities like this add strategic depth to the broader maritime network developing across Southeast Asia. For the Philippines, this matters even more, because the country is currently upgrading its naval capabilities. The Philippine Navy has already ordered offshore patrol vessels and frigates from Hyundai, signaling a growing defense partnership between the two nations. So the ships being built aren't just commercial vessels anymore. Some of them may eventually become part of the region's evolving maritime security architecture. This project also fits into a much broader industrial strategy. South Korea isn't limiting its shipbuilding power to domestic shipyards anymore. Through companies like HD Korea Shipbuilding and Offshore Engineering, the country is gradually expanding an international network of shipbuilding partnerships, something analysts have started calling the K-Shipbuilding belt. Instead of exporting only finished ships, Korean firms are exporting shipyard capabilities themselves. Technology, engineering expertise, production systems, and workforce training are being shared with partner countries. The Philippines is one important link in that chain. But similar cooperation is also emerging in India and Vietnam. Slowly, piece by piece, a global shipbuilding ecosystem connected to Korea is taking shape. Of course, projects of this scale never move forward without challenges. Expanding shipyard operations means strict environmental and safety regulations must be maintained. Large maritime facilities operate close to coastal ecosystems, so compliance and oversight will remain critical as production ramps up. Competition is another reality. Shipyards across Japan, China, and Vietnam are also investing heavily in new technology, automation, and expanded production capacity. The global shipbuilding race is intense, and maintaining competitiveness requires constant innovation. And then there's the human side of the equation. Modern shipbuilding demands highly specialized skills, from advanced welding techniques to digital production systems. Scaling up the local workforce so that it can operate cutting-edge shipyard technology will require sustained training and education. In other words, the revival of Subic is not just about infrastructure. It's also about building talent. Looking ahead, the momentum is clearly building. Over the next 1 to 2 years, shipyard activity at Subic is expected to ramp up significantly as fabrication and construction projects accelerate. The early stages are already underway, with vessels and offshore structures gradually moving through the production pipeline. If everything unfolds according to plan, the long-term vision is ambitious. Subic could evolve into one of the premier shipbuilding centers in the Indo-Pacific, serving both commercial shipping networks and regional defense needs. Within the broader K-Shipbuilding belt, the facility would act as a critical node, linking Southeast Asia with Korea's advanced maritime industry. And once a shipbuilding hub reaches that level, its influence stretches far beyond the docks. The revival of Subic Shipyard by Hyundai is more than the reopening of an industrial facility. It represents a turning point where economics, technology, and geopolitics intersect. Thousands of jobs are returning. New skills and technologies are entering the local workforce. And international partnerships are becoming stronger through shared industrial development. At first glance, it might look like just another shipyard project along a quiet coastline. But in reality, what's happening at Subic Bay Shipyard could shape the future of maritime cooperation across the Indo-Pacific. Sometimes the biggest shifts in global strategy don't start with speeches or summits. Sometimes they begin with the sound of steel being welded together beside the sea.
If you found this analysis valuable, share your perspective in the comments. Your insights help deepen the conversation and sharpen our understanding of evolving regional dynamics. Thank you, and we will see you soon in our next geopolitical discussion.